So, last but not least for today, our third guest here on the Swisscom stage. We are going to switch to English for this third talk because we do not have only a very international but also a very special guest here on stage. For me, personal, it's a huge pleasure to welcome Cyril Aouizerate. He is the co-founder of the Mama Shelter hotel concept, but he's also a vegan pioneer, a thinker, a philosopher, and now the ultimate driving force behind the hip, all-organic mob hotel concept with venues in Paris, Lyon, and soon also in the United States. With his very own philosophy of hospitality, Cyril is a thrilling person with tons of inspiration for people willing to create hospitality of tomorrow. So Cyril, when we've talked at the phone to prepare this little chat here, we talked about philosophy, about activism, culture, veganism, commitment to organic production. And I was wondering, what do you consider yourself? Like a shoaler, an eco-fighter, a rebel, or just a man who enjoys life?
Well, I try every day to be just a human being, meaning I try to think, especially in the night, work in the day, try to resolve my contradiction, like all human beings, I think.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm an entrepreneur, meaning I'm an entrepreneur who believe that in the world today, you cannot be just an entrepreneur. You need to be a philosopher, you need to be an ethnologue, you need to be a poet, you need to love philosophy, be interesting in a lot of things. And this is why, I try to resume in all my life different part of my own life that I put in my day job, who is to open my hotel to the travelers.
You're not a you're maybe a hospitable person at its very core, but you did not follow a typical hospitality career. How did a man like you, with this broad view of the world, end up in hospitality?
Well, I think that is totally, in my opinion, totally normal to be an hotelier without any kind at the beginning, because now I do hotels since 20 years. But you need to have your own way before to do something where it's so important to speak well, to understand what is a travel. And this is why I really believe that my past, meaning when I was professor, when I beginning to study, meet people, do tons of projects, including militant activism, it was very, very important to help me to understand what I have to do if I have the chance one day, like I have today, to have a place where I can create a place about freedom, where the people, they can have access to culture, when we can produce live, when we can produce poetry session. And to do that, you cannot come from, I'm sorry to tell that like this, but from hospitality university of hospitality school. That is okay. Can give you something, a vision on the business of what is hospitality, but our job is not to be in an economical sector. Our job is a mission. And me, I believe in French, we say force de l'esprit.
Force de l'esprit.
Force de l'esprit, meaning I believe that 50% of my job is spiritual.
Is that like the thing you elaborated right now? Can we say that's the Cyril Aouizerate philosophy of hospitality? What you told me a very specific story about what hospitality is meaning for you. Are you willing to share this story with the audience here?
Well, I think, hospitality is just a place where in a limited time, you have the chance to share everything that you believe regarding the situation in the world. Meaning, my project with my team is always to share with the guest our vision on the culture, on social ecology, be ready to talk about that, but at the same time be in the action. It's not the time, and it's that it's a big part of mob hotels. It's not the time to think about what's going on in the world with climate changing, etc. We need to do some strong effort in terms of construction, in terms of energy, in terms of food. That the hotel is 100% organic, with certification. I think you need to give everything that you can, including if the guests just stay a night. He needs in one night to understand that your philosophy is not a morality. It's something that you want to share. He can have his own perception of that, but I say it all the time, an hotel is like a micro state. It's like a micro state. You decide what you want to propose in terms of food, in terms of culture, etc. It's like you are a little bit like a tyrannic man who can decide, what kind of bed the people they will use, what kind of food they will share, etc. It's a little bit tyrannic way, But thanks God, I have my team.
Yeah.
They oblige me to be democratic.
Yeah. You said you have your team, you and your team, you consider yourself, or especially you, as Artisan hotelier. Has it to do with all the organic production you do in your hotel, or does it go even further, this Artisan hotelier way of being a host?
Yeah, I think we declare that we are Artisan hotelier, first because, like you say, we do organic food. We produce our own furniture with craftsmen people that we are with them since a couple of years. We now go until the independent energy, with solar system, with a cooperative. Meaning that is a part who can explain the name of the term of artisan hotelier. But the other part of that is we are very, very, very slow. Meaning my goal is really to be a turtle. Turtle, we develop the company super slowly. Meaning, and it's not, like I said before, it's not because I am arrogant and I don't, or because I don't want to work. That's because we take a lot of time. If tomorrow, for example, the project of Washington, D.C., we work on that project since probably 4 or 5 years because we needed to find craftsman company, we need to find locals, from Virginia, from, very local way, and that takes time. And at the same time, I meet, hundreds of professors of sociology, politics, meaning what's going on in Washington, D.C., what is the situation, what's going on between question of civil rights or segregation or what's going on in terms of culture. Meaning, and the other point, just to explain to the people who are there, the other point who, for example, explain why we are artisan hotelier is like every month we have a meeting that we call non-undevelopment meeting.
Okay.
It's a meeting where we decide to say no to future development. But with no arrogance. With no, it's not because we are so proud of what we're doing. That's because we need to take a lot of time to do our own project.
I think it's also your philosophy to very deep dive into your project. You once said, I'm not a man who's ticking off a map with venues. If I'm doing something right. And if we talk about self-sufficient hotels like yours, we often talk about areas very remote, maybe in mountain or beach areas. But the funny thing or the special part about MOB is you're in Paris, you're in Lyon, you're going to be in LA, in Washington. So you're going to be self-sufficient in the middle of huge major metropolitan cities where it wouldn't be necessary to be self-sufficient. Is that a very thought-through decision that you go into hotels, or has it to do with the concept in general, or is it just a coincidence?
No, it's always a part of coincidence, meaning when we decide, for example, to go in Washington, D.C., that's because I meet some people who talk about Washington D.C. To be honest, at the beginning I was a little bit disturbing, by that what I'm doing, in Washington D.C. But beginning to learn the city, meaning for me the most important is not to have a map list, where people or advisor or specialists of development say to you, you have to go there and there because it's very dynamic. That's because we receive an email, for example, for a woman and say, well, I live, for example, since 2 months we work on a project in Tokyo, close to Tsukuba. It's on the northeast. That we receive an email for a very, very famous architecture studio, and they say to us, we have a super small project. It's far away from France. It's in Japan. And we say, yes, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
But it felt right.
It's very complex for us to develop that project. We don't know the percentage of chance to go at the end of this project, but you say that this email understood who we are. They talk to us on a very interesting way. Let's try to do something.
So that's a very, I would like to go a little bit more into details about this Tokyo project. The reason why is you always work with very, very local people. Like in Lyon, you have like the city farmers who are producing vegetables for your hotel. If you go to Japan, and if you want to work with a very local community, that's going to be tough, isn't it? I don't know about your Japanese skills.
In this case, no, because that's on the northeast. It's really in the countryside of Tokyo. It's like 1 hour from Tokyo Center, and they do winery in that area. They produce a lot of vegetable and fruit from Japan.
But still, you have to learn about Japanese culture to get in touch with that people. Do you work with like local consultants, agents? Do you hire someone who is developing the project over there, or is it just Cyril with his attitude who is making it happen?
No, we send email to people that we looking for. We read articles about that writer in Japan, and we send email. We don't know if the guy or the woman they will answer to us.
Okay.
Sometimes we send letters. Because I'm old school man. I'm 50 years old. I love letters.
People remember letters though.
And sometimes we have magical reactions, and of course we created a sort of library of each project, social library. We try to have books to understand a lot of things, because again, our job is not only to find a location, build a project, do rooms, 20 meter, you think, 18 square meter, what is, that is not a question. After, of course, you need to have a good bed, you need to have everything that is the professional job that we do like all our competitor, but we need to understand where we develop projects.
Okay. When you're developing projects, social ecology is always at the very heart. I think it's the very core of the mob value system. I've never heard the term social ecology before, I'm honest. Probably some of the people in the audience didn't either. Can you explain for us what social ecology means and why is it at the very heart of the mob philosophy?
Well, if we have a little bit time, the term of social ecology was created by Bookchin, the ecologist militant in the U.S. In the 70s. It was in New York City. It was an exhibition on the question of. It was in 70s on the climate changing, and at the end of the exhibition, the organization. Finalize the process by a mirror where they write on the mirror the spaces most dangerous for Earth, and the people, they see themselves in the mirror. The social ecology is against that vision.
Okay.
No people are equal regarding the destruction of the Earth. Meaning, a guy who works in Switzerland, in Zurich, who is obliged to take his car with diesel to win a super small remuneration, cannot be responsible like a billionaire from Switzerland who have 6 planes, 10 helicopters, and he never understand that is a problem to to visit the world, and including, I think, is not productive. I think a billionaire would take his time in a fucking plane. I'm not sure that he's a very good entrepreneur. He's billionaire, for sure. But be a good entrepreneur can be another question, But the social ecology is to create no morality, no guilty speech between the question of social ecology, I can say slowly, a Marxist vision of the society, and at the same time resolve the question of the climate changing by some action. Meaning you need to do action. When I decide to now develop the mob hotels in passive construction, it's a decision. It's a political decision. It's not because I'm just an entrepreneur. I politically decide because be an entrepreneur, you are a politician. You do politics every day. You create jobs. You are not in the, in the blah blah, of certain politicians. Meaning the social ecology is that, and it's reality, meaning when I do 50 kitchen gardens at Mob Hotel in Saint-Ouen, it's to give to my neighbors 50, we call that in French, jardin d'ouvriers, workers' garden, It's to give them for free 50 gardens for them. They live in a very small apartment. They can, during 1 year, and after we do tombola to give to another family. It's a way to share public space, and to think differently the question of the climate changing, but never with a guilty speech.
Okay, that's fascinating, and it's even more fascinating if we think about that this happens in a certain way, profit-orientated hospitality world nowadays. I would like to shift to focus on one more point, which we're all struggling with in the hospitality sector. It's about workforce. I mean, your concept is based on very strong values, and how can you ensure that those values are lived by each employee you have in your hospitality businesses or in your hotels? Especially if nowadays workforce for hotels is not very easy to be found. Especially in Switzerland, we have that issue. I don't know about Paris, but I can imagine that it could be similar.
Of course, it's the most complicated work. Do project, find locations, develop project, including find money, invest. That is complicated, but the worst is to share with your team, the little team that you have to develop, and the team who are in the hotel, to share your vision. After a couple of years, I decided to explain to them just one thing. A traveler, a guest who arrived, will push the door of Mob Hotel with a little luggage. Same thing for just a restaurant. If you have a guest who come at a restaurant, I explain to my team, understand that is a miracle. That is a miracle. Because if we are totally honest, the chance that you have that a guy in Australia, in Sydney, heard about you, find you, go on a website, find your website, okay. Find the good room for him and his girlfriend or his friend, and find a good date. After you need to put the credit card, the card have to work. You give the code on the credit card. After you need to find a flight, etc., etc., etc. After 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 days, arrive at your hotel. Meaning the chance that we have that a guest find Mob Hotel, and same thing for my other competitor, needs to push us to understand that, and that's my 99% of my speech with the guest, understand that a guest is a miracle, And if you understand that, if the employee understand that and is agree, and it's one of my first questions when I meet somebody, I say, do you believe on miracle? You just say no because I'm very rational. I believe just on wood table, not very interesting. I love people who believe on miracle, because a guest is a miracle. A flower is a miracle, not that one. The one is fake. An apple is a miracle, and the egg. When you see a chicken, for example, I explain that to my employee. Look at the chicken. Every morning, they offer to humanity one egg. You can eat the egg. The egg is perfect in terms of design. It's perfect. Do we, human beings, create something like that every morning?
Not as I'm aware of.
Not. And we try. No. But when you think a little bit about that, you have to believe on miracle. One egg is a miracle.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
I think that was a very thrilling and fascinating ending point. Being successful in hospitality is believing in miracles. That's what we take away, besides a lot of other very interesting insights. Thank you very much for being on stage with us, for sharing your very own philosophy of hospitality. I wish you a lovely stay here in Zurich. I hope you enjoy it, you enjoy the people, and you hope you enjoyed Cyril. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.